In this video, I'm going to show you how you could potentially turn $5,000 into $7,500, $10,000, maybe even $15,000 potentially in a year or less running my specific leap option strategy on Palantir. I run this strategy on different stocks, but in this video, I'm going to show you how to run it on Palantir specifically. So don't skip any part of this video because I'm going to show you start to finish how you want to set this up and how you can potentially have a 50% or even 100% and sometimes even a 200+% return in a year or less on this strategy. So let's dive right in and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do it, because if you want to make consistent profits like my students are in Discord, like you see right there on the screen, this is how we do it. This is just one of the many strategies I teach. Let's dive right in. If you guys are interested in joining Discord, the link is in the information box below. So in order to make the best of a leap option strategy like this, we absolutely need to get into a stock that's not at the top and is not completely overbought. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Palantir and see on the daily chart that Palantir has reached a peak of $148 and it's big support on this gap in the top of my AVP, which is a strategy I teach in my Discord and to my mastermind students. And this is very strong support along with the gap. So the support for Palantir, very strong support might I add, is around 101, maybe to 107. Like somewhere in this $4 range, there's a lot of support. So because there's all of this support there, we also have to look elsewhere for support. We'll dive into the 4-hour chart and we'll see there's a lot of support at the previous high. We can see the current price is 132. And if we look very carefully right here, it is right above, right there, right above the peak, the original supply zone. Now this was a supply zone and I'll explain that in a minute. And we can see that it's above that. So essentially the support for the stock right now is 124. We're still about $7 away, maybe $8. Now what I'm going to show you is the supply zone. Anytime you have a stock that drops drastically and has slippage like this all the way down of such a massive percent, it becomes a supply zone. And the supply zone is something I teach in Discord as well. What this is an area that you will find on stocks where lots of people were being stopped out, margin called, and sold. And there's so many shares here available and they must be bought up before the stock can go up. But the problem is every time the stock starts to go up, people start selling to take profits because they were losing money in here. Meaning the top of this is a supply zone, a supply of shares, a supply of the stock. And how we actually determine this is if the stock drops so much that it breaks structure. You can see it almost broke structure on the bottom here, but it did break this structure right here. One candle broke this structure and this structure. The second and third candles broke this structure on the 4-hour. If we go to the 1-hour chart, we will see a very similar story, but the 4-hour chart or the daily chart also gives us confidence on exactly what's happening here. You can see that it slipped all the way down and broke structure all the way down to this gap. So this is a supply zone. So what we're going to do is go to the 4-hour chart. I'm going to show you how we do this. You go to the previous green candle, which is this one, top of the wick to the bottom of the body, just like this. This becomes a supply zone, which is red. A constant supply of stock. They're very hard to break, but once the supply zone is broken, it becomes support. So if we look at this, the more touches, the more confluence and the stronger this supply zone is. We have one touch, 2 touch with a resistance, 3 touch. It broke through here. It then used it as support. Then it dropped below and used it as resistance again. More resistance, more support, more resistance. It's just going along this zone the whole time on the supply zone, using it as support. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 10 right here. And now we're pretty close to 11, not quite our 11th touch in a month and a half. This is confluence. The price action is indicative of this zone. We can see clearly that there is support between 123 and 125. We're not far from it. So ideally, because the stock right now is in a downtrend a little bit right now, we have to wait to see if this stock gets closer and bounces off 123. So what we want to do is wait for the stock to do this number right here. If the stock drops like this and then comes back up and does something like that, we get in the leap options right here because they're going to be a little bit cheaper. Granted, that may not happen and the stock could go up and you'll miss the move. So typically what I do is I look at my account, and if I have, let's say, a $300,000 account. 10% is my 33-10 rule, which is what I teach in Discord. You buy 2 on the down, 1 on the up. $2 cost average down, 1 up, meaning you have to be able to buy at least 3 contracts and be under 10%. So with a $300,000 account, you could buy 30,000, which means you could buy somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 contracts. So you'd buy 2 right now, and then you'd buy 2 if it dropped, and then if it continued to drop, you'd wait till it settles down and buy 2 more, and you'd have an average in here. And then when the stock runs, then we would take care of business and make money. But realistically, this is the support right here. So we're going to go with that scenario. And so what I will do is I will show you how to buy 2 right here. And if it drops here like I think it will, we'll buy 2 more. And then if it starts to run, we'll buy 2 more. And as the stock runs, we then will go above this and sell $151 to $155 calls. And we're going to make sure we wait for the stock to go up. We're not going to sell covered calls yet. We're going to wait for the stock to go up and reach a price of 143 or higher. And then we'll go up to 155 or 157 and start selling covered calls up here, because we want to remember that we have a break-even price. So the cost of the leap plus the strike price of the leap equals break-even price. Okay, so if we buy $100 leap and it costs $5,000, well then 5,000 divided by 100 shares is $50. So our break-even will be 50 plus 100, which is 150. Now, if we are selling $152 or $155 covered calls, even if we're assigned on the short call, we would exercise the leap at 100, giving us the difference. So if we sell a 155 call option and we get assigned, we collect 155, we exercise 100, leaving us with $55 a share minus 50 that it costs us, and we're left with $5 a share. So if we have 6 contracts, then that would tell you we would make $3,000. And I'll bring out the calculator, show you what I'm talking about. So we sell $155 call option, and we collect that money times 100 shares. This is 15,500 times 6. Then we minus the $100 or the $10,000 because there's 100 shares times 100, which is 10,000 times 6. Leaving us with 33,000 minus the 5,000 that we paid for each contract times 6 contracts, leaving us with $3,000 profit, plus all of the premiums we collect selling these covered calls. So you can see here, if we bought 6 of these leap options, it would cost $29,802. If we were to go out a week at a time selling covered calls that were about $10 out of the money, which should be about $141, $142 right now, about $100 a week. And if we were to do that trade right here, and we sold 6 of those every week, we would make about $684 a week. So $684 times 4, 2736 plus, or actually we're going to times it by 10 months, 27,360. You can see that's how much premium we would make, not including getting assigned and exiting the stock on the $160 covered call or the $155 covered call, which we would make about $1,500 to $1,000 per contract. So essentially 3,000 to 6,000 more on top. And if we exit somewhere in the 10-month mark as we follow the stock up, we've turned 29,000 into 33,000. So essentially more than 100% return. We've doubled our money. And if this happens in less time, we'll go over that, but you'll still make money. But you could make a lot of money if the stock just runs into the 155, 160 range. And it's already reached the 150 range. So we're really just asking Palantir to go back to where it was and move up a little bit. And in a year, not only likely, it's probable, because Palantir is a very strong stock. It's not guaranteed. There's always inherent risk, but it's very strong. This is a strategy that I teach my students consistently in the Discord, how to run leap options on different stocks. My students printed on leap options on AMD and Microsoft as of recently. In fact, I made over $23,000 in leap options from March to May. 2 months, $23,000, one trade. I had over 300%. And I'll show you guys the image of that trade right there on the screen. And you can also see my students' profits on the screen as well. We make money utilizing these strategies that I'm trying to teach you right now, as they are very consistent as long as you know the data to look for and how to get in and how to get out and to not sell covered calls below your break-even price. But don't just take my word for it. Let's take a listen to what my student Flute had to say. am here with Flute Ramon, who has joined my Discord most recently. How you doing, Flute?
Thank you so much, Corey. These 6 weeks have been the best weeks of my life. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Flute.
I started during COVID because I'm a musician and all my tour got canceled during COVID. And that's when I entered the stock market. And 2022, I think I came to options, and that's when I started losing a lot of money. And I lost a lot of money, like 90K or so.
What stood out to you most about me in comparison to anyone else?
Because I always liked the retirement strategy, and you had videos on SPY, how to retire with 10K. That was one of my goals. If I can make 10K a month. And then I was in the webinar. 15 minutes down the webinar, I saw the truth in you. When you spoke about your story, I could literally feel the truth. Then I just booked a call. I didn't wait for the webinar to get over. I found the earliest date available, booked the call. Without a mentor, I cannot win this game. I was almost this close to give it up and then focus on my music. I got lucky that I found you. Very nicely you teach it. You make it very simple, to the point. Those lesson modules are not lengthy, very, very concise. And I think even a high school student should understand all your lesson modules. They're simple, so good.
What are you up since joining? You've been in this program for 6 weeks. Year to date, you were at a negative like $90,000 loss, which I've helped you pull out of. Share your experience.
The truth is in the pudding. Why don't I share my screen? Do you see my year to date?
$51,000, 26% in 6 weeks is amazing.
Yeah.
And you were in the negative, from negative 30 all the way to positive 51 in 6 weeks.
There's one more thing which I did not add. Hold on. Look at this. This is also I just switching from Schwab to Fidelity.
Even after all the losses, you've made almost 55,000 in 6 weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing, Flute.
You changed my mindset, and I am not scared looking at red. And the lessons I've learned from you this past 6 weeks have been a transformative journey for me. I owe all this success to you. It's because of your mentorship. Night and day, I can see like how I was losing and how you changed me. Everything changed after that, after your mentorship.
So you heard what my student Flute had to say. If you want this to be your success story, let me show you how to turn your losses into wins. I was raised Catholic. My mother and my father brought me up to do the right thing whenever I could to help others. And when I achieved financial freedom and achieved my goals, I set out on a plan that took years to develop to help others achieve the same goal, which you can see all the comments on the screen of all the students that I've had that have grown their portfolios from 8,000 to 30,000, others from 3,000 to 30,000. I even have students that have went from 20 to 80,000, others from 300 to 800,000. Let me show you how to turn your losses into wins and change the way you think about the stock market forever so you can start achieving the goals you have set out to achieve for yourself. I would love to help you. The link to join Discord is in the information box below, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. So essentially, to go through this one more time, step by step, right now, we would buy leap options. Me particularly, I would buy 2 leap options right here at the current price, which if we look at the current price for a June 18th, 2026 leap option, we would buy the 100 leap at $5,000. I would buy 2 of these. And if it dropped, I'd buy 2 more to dollar cost average, same strike, same expiration. This gives us a dollar cost average. But let's say I just buy 6 of these. The stock doesn't really go up or down over the course of a month, and I'm just waiting for the stock to go up to sell covered calls. Well, then I'm looking at about $30,000 to buy 6 of these. So $30,000 to buy 6, and this will allow me to have 6 contracts at $4,967. This is a total of $29,802. If we go back over to the original setup that we were doing, if the stock runs up to like 142, 144, we would then go up and sell covered calls at roughly 155, 158, 160, somewhere in this range, depending on where the stock currently is down here. This, I've showed you previously that it's going to be about $112. So we have 6 contracts times 112. And if we sell this 20 delta, if the stock goes up, we keep selling 20 deltas, 15 to 20 delta every week. This will be roughly $672 per week times 4 weeks, $2,600 a month. If we do this for 10 months, this is $26,000. If we get out at 160, that's $6,000 in profits on the leap options because we bought the $100 strike on the leap and it costs $5,000. 50 plus 100 is 150 minus 160 is 1,000. 1,000 times 6 is $6,000. So we add $6,000, 32,000. We have turned, as you can see right here, we have turned 6 of these, 29,802 into 32,000. So essentially, we can double our money. We can actually double our money here if this was to happen. And all Palantir has to do is go about $10 above its current and previous high, which is not hard considering how much move Palantir has had. But what happens if Palantir was to go up in 1 month? Well, if it went to 160 in the first month, we would get assigned on the 160s. So we would sell at 160, exercise our 100s, which would leave us with $60 per share, 6,000 per leap, minus the 5,000 it costs, leaving us with $6,000 profit. Plus, we would have 6 options per week at $100, which is $2,600. So essentially, in the first month, even if we were assigned, worst case on the bullish side, if the stock runs, we would make $8,600 off of $30,000. 30% return, almost 30% in the first month, if that was to happen. If not, we could reach a potential of 50%, 100%, or more. Now, if you're wondering how this would work on a smaller account, maybe you only want to buy 1 leap option for $5,000 or a slightly more out of the money lower delta leap option so that you could buy 2 or more. Well, let me show you how that would work. And just to correct something you may have seen a few moments ago previously here, I did have it on sell to open at $29,802 to buy to open 6 leap options, but it actually showed sell to open, which is no difference because if you click buy to open, it's relatively the same price within $20 or $30. Just for reference sake, it doesn't change very much. So we're going to buy to open 2 leap options for June 18th, but instead of a $100 strike, we will go with 120, maybe 130. This will give you an opportunity to get in for $6,000 for 2 leap options. Maybe we do a 135. This would be $6,400. So this gives you an idea of how things would work if you want more than one. I personally would rather just do 1 leap option at 100, which is going to cost you about $49.67. So we take $49.67 and you're going to wait for the stock to go up, same as we talked about previously, sell $100, $112 in value, at least what you're going to collect premium on. And then you're going to sell $155 covered calls or $160, depending on where the stock goes, about $112 a week times 4, $448 a month times 10 months, because we're selling consistent 20 deltas, 15 to 20 deltas as the stock goes up, or if it consolidates, we can sell relatively the same strike price, the same as we did before. That's going to give us $44.80. And if we get assigned on the short call and exercise the long call, 160 to 150 is $1,000 plus 1,000. So essentially, we've turned $49.67 into $54.80, more than 100% return. If we happen to get assigned our first month at 160, well, then we make 1,000, plus we make the 112 times 4, which is $14.48. $49.72 times 20% is $9.94. So we're actually making about 25 to 27% in our first month on a small account. So you can turn $5,000 into about $6,500. Maybe $7,000 in your first 2 months of doing this. Or you could double your money in up to 10 months, depending on where the stock goes. If the stock moves up quicker after you buy to close a short call or it expires and the stock runs, then you can just sell the leap option in that scenario and make a lot more money. Relatively, 25 to 50% is the average. You can definitely make more than that. You could be in a losing position on a short call that you sold, let's say for $112, which I will show you right here, July 11th. We sold, let's say, a $9 out of the money, 21 delta call for 112. The stock goes up $5 or above that. We go down $5 in the money on the 132, which is 127. We would lose $500 on that. But if we were to buy that back at a loss instead of taking the assignment and the stock runs another $5 or $6, we'd get out with more money than we lost because they work in tandem. The short and the long work in tandem. So there's multiple ways to do this, but you can essentially make 25% in your first month or two and up to 50 or 100% in 10 months to a year of this leap option. And then after you stop selling covered calls near the end of the year, if you haven't been assigned and the stock runs, then you can make even more than $1,000. And in that case, if your last covered call you sell expires, then the stock starts to move up and you hold on to the final week or two and the stock's running, you could make several thousand on the stock itself. I've actually gotten into leap options that have cost me $5,000 that I've sold and made $3,000 or $4,000 just on the leap option, not including the covered calls. So it is possible that you could turn $5,000 per leap into $15,000 in a year with the right strategy and the right covered calls like I'm showing you. And if this is confusing you, And maybe you don't even know where to begin. Like I said, if you want to make the profits that you see on the screen and you want me to help guide you and coach you on this strategy even further, you can join Discord at any time. The link's in the information box below. And I'm driven every single day to help people just like you achieve your financial goals and dreams. And I really look forward to helping you potentially in the future. Take care of yourselves, fam. I'll see you on the next video and in the Discord real soon.